The title of my presentation is Telling Our Own Story, Resisting Slave Raiding in Sankana. Slave raiding in the northern parts of Ghana in the 19th century reached a crescendo in the latter part of the century, with the victims of raiding rising up in armed resistance to resist raiders and save themselves. Though these events have been captured in histories and archives, I start off to contest these histories because of the methodologies involved in the research and writing. I therefore take another look at the narratives of resistance to slave raiding activities of Babatu and Samori from the point of view of the victims and not that of the recorded manuscripts that did not reflect the counter-narrative. The last dozen years of the 19th century are particularly prime because they reflect the arduous attempts of a group of local polities who came together to fight against internal and/or external aggression. As the events of the period are reappraised, more regard is given to the intellectual worthiness of oral narratives and juxtaposed with the written repertoires. This paper is a presentation of the combative history of the Dagaba who came together to resist. A conflation of the sources, oral and written, from this period provides fresher insights on events and how they are preserved, particularly in indigenous systems where the written word was hitherto totally alien. The Dagaba can be found within the political boundaries of modern-day Ghana and Burkina Faso. This resulted from the division of the area between the British and the French. There was little regard for the fact that one people was being split in two. However, the majority of Dagaba can be found within the boundaries of Ghana. In the aftermath of the 1887 and 1896 Babatu and Samori slave raiding campaigns in the northwest of Ghana, the British, with the signing of treaties with the Dagaba in 1897 and 1898, recognized the land of Dagaba as being distinct from that of the Wala polity. Dagao is the land of the Dagaba, and it was recognized by the British as starting 4 miles north of Wa and stretching all the way to the northern border of Ghana and even beyond into Burkina Faso, approximately from latitude 9 north to latitude 11 north. From the Colloquium River in the east, Dagao stretches to the Black Volta in the west, which marks the border between Ghana and Burkina Faso, approximately from longitude 2 west to longitude 3 west. The Dagaba speak Dagare, with changes in dialect as one moves from the southernmost parts of their land to the northernmost, such that it is a language continuum. The last 2 decades of the 19th century represented the height of slave raiding activities of Babatu and Samori. Even though the activities of these slave raiders are considered by some scholars to be empire-building activities, the turbulence they generated prompted an alliance of the Dagaba people in order to present a united front to fiercely resist the marauders. Driven by their desire for plunder in the form of slaves, livestock, and other foodstuff, Babatu and Samori represented the external flame that intensified the relatively minor hostilities in the region to create wholesale warfare and unrest. Focus will be on the 2 slave raiders, Babatu and Samori, and their exploits in the western part of the Northern Territory, particularly at Sankana. I rely on the oral narratives of the Dagaba for the story of resistance, corroborated by, as much as possible, by written sources. But I rely entirely on written sources to provide dates for major events that took place. The first alliance of the Dagaba was to resist the alliance of Wala and Babatu. The backdrop of the situation points to an earlier incident of Zabarima occupation of Wa by Babatu's predecessor, who was known as Afa Gazere Dan Mahama. The Wala were redeemed from the rule of the Zabarima by Bole. The redemption, however, came with a fee. They had to pay an annual tribute to the Bolewura, whose people, the Gonja, had to pay tribute to Asante in slaves. It was in pursuance of this that they attacked the Dagari villages of Kanyene, Papu, Sankana, and Chere, leading to the Dagaba forming an alliance to fight back, resulting in the defeat of the Wala. following their apparent inability to defeat the united Dagaba by 1887. Ironically, as it may seem, they went back to court the assistance of the Zabarima raiders, now under the leadership of Babatu. Babatu therefore came into the picture as an ally to assist the Wala for a fee in war booty to be gathered from the Dagaba. It is not clear how many battles were fought, but Wilkes and Toure both state 1887 as the year of the defeat of the invaders, and all oral sources concur that the defeat took place in Sankana, the chosen battleground of the Dagaba. This ignominious defeat caused Babatu to turn on his allies and sack Wa to get the booty he could not get from the Dagaba, after which he recoiled to his stronghold in Kassana in Sisala country. Tensions later rose again between Dondoli, a ward in Wa, and Kaleo, a major Dagari chiefdom, because one Domba of Kaleo and his band abducted a woman or women. There's a variance as to the number from Dondoli. The presentation of gifts in cowries, horses, and sheep, as well as the prospect of reaping a huge booty in war spoils, following a successful war, was enough incentive for Samori Sofas to move towards Wa. It was this move that resulted in the skirmish with a contingent of British, which resulted in the death of the British administrator George Ekin Ferguson. According to Wilkes, the Sofas led by Sarachim Mori, referred to by the Dagaba as Sarentiene, Fanyima, and other Samori commanders attacked the Dagaba on the 10th of May. The Dagaba won this battle, but Sarachim Mori, having flogged Fanyima for cowardice, re-strategizing and reinforcing his army from Gonja of Bole and Wala, attacked the Dagaba with superior forces and better weapons on the 5th of May, 1896, completely routing them. Sankana not being far from the Black Volta, which divides present-day Ghana from Burkina Faso, many escaped across the river to safety in French-controlled territories. But many more went to ground in the many caves of Sankana and continued a guerrilla-style warfare against the invaders. Samori and Wala forces pushed further north, conquering other Dagara villages. Garrisons were established to stop any rebellions. One such garrison was set up at Somatigu, a ward of Sankana. As a result of constant guerrilla form raids, the garrison had to build a stockade to defend themselves from the nightly rain of arrows. The occupation of the Dagaba did not last long because, for strategic reasons relating to European colonial interests, Samori ordered Sarachim Mori to quit the northwest and establish a new headquarters at Bona, across the Black Volta from Bole. Landscape strategies of resistance helped a lot. Both Babatu and the Samori Sofas came as well-organized, well-trained, and well-equipped armies to fight against basically acephalous clans with no standing armies, no regiment of military training or battle order to use in a situation of war. At Sankana, different strategies had to be adopted. Sankana is some 22 kilometers from Wa. It is a village with large rocky outposts and generally rocky terrain with thorny shrubs growing among the rocks. The terrain is also replete with caves. The Dagaba warriors and people made good use of the terrain in their resistance to invaders because the Zabarima and Sofas of Samori were mostly horsemen and the terrain was not suitable for horses. Once invaders advanced into Dagaba territory, all people immediately ran to Sankana. Women, children, and the old repaired into the caves, which were well resourced with foodstuff and water to last several weeks. There are two main caves in Sankana, Siambogo and Kalibi, capable of holding many people. These are now accessible to tourists, and there are many more smaller caves among the rocks that are even now not shown to people, just in case there comes a time of need one day. Two high crops of rock, Pinabo and Kunleokapuri, serve as lookout posts where lookouts can spot raiders from many kilometers away and blow a cow horn to sound the alarm.